Vincent Crawford had driven past this diner 1,000 times and never once thought about stopping. It was one of those places you see everywhere in Detroit: faded sign, checkered floor visible through smudged windows. The kind of spot where truckers and night shift workers grabbed coffee at odd hours. But tonight, at 2 in the morning, with his luxury sedan making concerning noises and his phone showing no signal, he didn't have much choice. The November wind cut through his coat as he pushed open the door. A bell chimed above his head, and the warmth inside hit him immediately. The place was almost empty. Just one tired-looking man at the counter nursing a coffee, and a waitress who looked like she'd been on her feet for way too many hours. "Sit anywhere, honey," she called out. Barely looking up from wiping down the counter, Vincent slid into a booth near the window, loosening his tie. He'd just come from a business dinner that ran way too long, the kind where everyone talked in circles for 3 hours and could have said everything in an email. His driver had the night off, which he was now regretting. The mechanic wouldn't come until morning, and the nearest hotel was miles away. He picked up the plastic menu, sticky with age, and tried not to think about the $100 meal he'd had just hours earlier. The irony wasn't lost on him. Here he was, a man who'd built a tech empire worth billions, sitting in a place where the most expensive item was $9. "What can I get you?" The waitress appeared with a tired smile, her name tag reading Rosa. "Coffee, black. And whatever's good here?" "Everything's good here, but the meatloaf is fresh. Made it myself this evening. Sold." As Rosa walked away, Vincent's eyes wandered to the kitchen window. That's when he saw her. A young woman, couldn't have been more than 22 or 23, standing at a massive industrial sink. Even from where he sat, he could see the intensity in how she worked. Her dark hands moved with purpose, scrubbing plates, stacking them, moving to the next batch without pause. Her hair was pulled back tight, and she wore a gray apron that had seen better days. But that wasn't what caught his attention. On a small shelf, just above the sink, barely visible between the industrial soap dispensers and cleaning supplies, sat a textbook. And not just any textbook. Even from this distance, Vincent could make out the title: Advanced Quantum Mechanics. The pages were marked with sticky notes, edges worn from use. Vincent found himself staring. He'd built his fortune on recognizing potential, on seeing what others missed. And something about this scene felt off in a way that made his instincts kick in. A girl washing dishes at 2 in the morning was one thing. Detroit had plenty of people working hard jobs at odd hours. But that book didn't fit. Rosa brought his coffee, and he took a sip, still watching. The young woman would wash a stack of dishes, then glance at the book. Her lips would move, like she was reciting something, then back to the dishes. It was a rhythm, a dance between manual labor and something else entirely. "Your meatloaf will be right up," Rosa said, following his gaze. "That's Nia, best worker I've got. Shows up on time, never complains, works harder than people half her age, twice as long." "She's young," Vincent observed. 22. Been here almost 2 years now. Works more hours than anyone should, but... Rosa shrugged. "We all do what we got to do." Vincent nodded slowly, taking another sip of his coffee. His mind was already working, connecting dots, asking questions he hadn't voiced yet. When his food arrived, it was better than he expected. Real mashed potatoes, not instant. Gravy that actually tasted like someone cared. He ate slowly, partly because he was hungrier than he realized, partly because he was still watching the kitchen. Around 2:30, things slowed down. The other customer left, and Rosa disappeared into the back. Nia emerged from the kitchen, carrying a fresh pot of coffee. She started refilling the station near the register, and Vincent saw her clearly for the first time. She was pretty in a way that wasn't trying to be. No makeup, exhaustion written on her face, but there was something in her eyes, a sharpness, an awareness. When she noticed him watching, she straightened up, professional but cautious. "Need a refill?" she asked, approaching his table. "Please." He pushed his cup forward. She poured with steady hands. And he noticed the calluses, the redness from hours of hot water and soap. "That's quite a book you've got back there," he said casually. Her hand froze for just a second. "You can see that from here?" "Good eyes. And I used to study physics myself, long time ago." She relaxed slightly, just a fraction. "It's just something I read sometimes. Keeps the mind busy. Quantum mechanics keeps the mind busy, that's for sure. Most people use their phones for that." A small smile flickered across her face. "Yeah, well, my phone's got a cracked screen, and I already know everything on there. Books are better anyway. You study this in college?" The smile disappeared. "Used to. Not anymore." There was a finality in her tone that said the subject was closed. Vincent recognized it the same way he used to shut down questions about his own past. Back before the money, before the success. "Sorry. Didn't mean to pry," he said, meaning it. She shrugged, some of the tension leaving her shoulders. "It's fine. Just ... yeah. Different life now." "You work nights regularly?" 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., 5 days a week. Sometimes 6. 12-hour shifts. Vincent did the math quickly. "That's rough." "It's honest work." There was pride in her voice, defensive. "Better than a lot of options out there." "Didn't say it wasn't. Just said it's rough." "There's a difference." She studied him for a moment, really looked at him, like she was trying to figure out what his angle was. "You from around here?" "Born and raised. Left for a while. Came back about 10 years ago." "Let me guess. You made it big somewhere else and came back to save the city?" There was no malice in it, just a kind of tired cynicism. Vincent laughed. "Something like that, though I'm not sure about the saving part. Mostly just trying to build things that matter." "What kind of things?" "Technology. Clean energy, mostly these days. Trying to make solar affordable for regular people, not just rich folks with houses in California." For the first time, real interest sparked in her eyes. "Solar? Like photovoltaic systems?" "Exactly like that. The efficiency problem is the cost of materials," she said, speaking faster now. "Silicon panels work great, but they're expensive to produce. If someone could figure out perovskite stability issues, you could cut costs by 70%. She stopped abruptly, like she'd said too much. Vincent leaned forward. "You really did study this?" Nia stepped back, the walls going up again. "Like I said, just something I read about. Look, I should get back to work." "Wait." Vincent reached for his wallet, pulled out a business card. "I'm Vincent. Vincent Crawford. If you ever want to talk about physics or solar panels or anything really, give me a call." She took the card automatically, glanced at it, and her eyes widened. "Crawford Tech? You're that Vincent Crawford?" "Guilty." She looked at the card, then at him, then back at the card. Why would a billionaire want to talk to someone washing dishes? Because the person washing dishes just explained a complex solar technology problem in 10 seconds better than my entire engineering team did last month. And because I remember what it's like to be working a job at 2 a.m. while dreaming about something bigger. Nia stood there, card in hand, suspicion and hope fighting across her face. Finally, she tucked it into her apron pocket. "Thanks, but I'm fine. Have a good night, Mr. Crawford." She turned and walked back to the kitchen, leaving Vincent sitting alone with his cold coffee. Through the window, he watched her return to the sink, back to the rhythm of work and stolen glances at that textbook. Vincent left a $50 bill for a $12 meal and walked out into the cold November night. His car was still broken. The mechanic still wouldn't come until morning. But something had shifted in him, that instinct that had made him successful telling him this wasn't over. He looked back at the diner one more time, at the warm light spilling onto the empty street, at the shadow of a young woman washing dishes. All formulas danced in her head. Something about tonight felt important. Like one of those moments where life pivots, where paths cross for a reason. Vincent didn't believe in coincidences. He believed in patterns, in probability, in potential waiting to be unlocked. And he had a feeling Nia's story was just beginning. 3 days passed, and Vincent couldn't stop thinking about the diner. About Nia, about that textbook sitting next to industrial dish soap, and the way her eyes lit up when she talked about solar technology before the shutters came down. He built his empire on instinct, on recognizing talent where others saw nothing. And every instinct he had was screaming that something didn't add up. A girl that smart, that knowledgeable, washing dishes at 2 a.m.? There was a story there. A big one. His assistant had given him the look when he asked her to clear his Thursday evening. "Sir, you have the quarterly investors meeting on Friday morning. You need to prepare." "I'll prepare," he'd said. "Just clear Thursday night." Now, at 11 p.m. on Thursday, Vincent sat in his car outside that same diner, feeling slightly ridiculous. He was a 51-year-old billionaire, conducting what was essentially a stackout at a truck stop diner. If the board could see him now, they'd question his sanity. But he'd learned to trust his gut. It had never steered him wrong. He walked in just before midnight. Different waitress this time, younger, chewing gum while scrolling through her phone. The place had a few more customers, a couple of truckers, a group of what looked like hospital workers still in scrubs, probably from the medical center down the road. "Sit anywhere," the waitress mumbled without looking up. Vincent chose the same booth as before, the one with a clear view of the kitchen. And sure enough, there she was. Nia, at that same sink, moving with the same determined efficiency. The textbook was there too, though tonight it looked like a different one. He squinted. Thermodynamics, maybe. He ordered coffee and pie this time, keeping it simple. The waitress brought it without comment and disappeared again. Vincent settled in to observe. What he saw over the next hour amazed him. Nia wasn't just washing dishes. She was running that kitchen from the back. When the dishwasher started making a grinding noise, she didn't call anyone. She grabbed a screwdriver from somewhere, opened up the panel, and had it fixed in 5 minutes. When one of the cooks couldn't find something, she knew exactly where it was. When they ran low on clean plates during a rush, she moved faster, creating a system that kept everything flowing. This wasn't someone just getting by. This was someone who excelled at everything she touched. Even if that thing was washing dishes in a diner at midnight. Around 1 a.m., things quieted down. Rosa appeared. Apparently she worked multiple shifts and took over at the register. Vincent saw his chance. "Rosa, right?" he said, approaching the counter. She looked up and recognition crossed her face. "You're that guy from the other night. The one who left me a $50 tip." "Guilty." "Listen, can I ask you something?" "Depends on what you're asking." Her tone was friendly but cautious. "The girl in the back, Nia, you said she's been here 2 years?" Rosa's expression shifted, protective now. "Why you want to know?" "She's a good girl. Works hard. Doesn't need any trouble." "I'm not trouble. I promise. I can't stop thinking about what I saw the other night. A kid that's smart shouldn't be washing dishes." "You think she doesn't know that?" Rosa's voice was quiet but fierce. "You think any of us end up here because it's our first choice?" Vincent held up his hands. "I didn't mean it like that. I'm sorry. I just want to understand." Rosa studied him for a long moment, then sighed. "Look, I don't know the whole story. Nia doesn't talk much about her past. But I know she went to MIT, full scholarship. She was going to be somebody, you know? Some kind of scientist or engineer. Then something happened, and she came back here 2 years ago. Started working every hour she could get. MIT? Vincent felt his heart rate pick up. MIT was no joke. That was top tier, brilliant minds, the best of the best. That's what I heard from our old high school teacher, who comes in sometimes. Sighed Nia was the smartest kid she'd ever taught. Perfect grades, full ride to MIT, the whole deal. Then she just stopped. People don't just walk away from MIT, Vincent said, more to himself than to Rosa. They do if they got a good reason. Rosa leaned in closer, lowering her voice. I don't know what that reason is, and I've never asked. But I know she sends most of her money somewhere. Every paycheck, she cashes it, and most of it disappears. She lives in a tiny apartment, drives a car that's held together with duct tape and prayers, and works herself half to death. So whatever her reason is, it must be important. Vincent felt pieces clicking into place, but the picture was still incomplete. Does she have family here? That's not my business to tell, Rosa said firmly. And it's not yours either, unless she wants to share it. What I will tell you is that Nia is proud. She doesn't take handouts, doesn't complain, doesn't make excuses. She shows up, does the work, and goes home. If you're thinking about offering her charity or something, save your breath. She'll tell you where to go. I wasn't thinking charity, Vincent said. I was thinking opportunity. To her, those might look the same. Rosa straightened up. Now, you want more coffee? Or are we done with the 20 questions? Vincent smiled. Coffee would be great. And Rosa? Thank you. Over the next week, Vincent did something he rarely did anymore. He got his hands dirty with research. Not the kind his team usually handled, but personal investigation. He had resources most people didn't, and he used them. What he found made the picture clearer and sadder. Nia Thompson, 22 years old, born and raised in Detroit. Mother named Patricia. Father died when Nia was 12. Younger siblings, twins, now 17. High school valedictorian. Perfect SAT scores. Multiple scholarship offers. Chose MIT's mechanical engineering program with a focus on renewable energy systems. Freshman year dean's list, top 5%. Sophomore year, first semester same. Then, halfway through sophomore year, a medical withdrawal. No details in the public records, but the timing coincided with something else Vincent found. Her mother's admission to a memory care facility. The dates matched almost exactly. The facility wasn't cheap. Vincent knew because he'd helped fund similar places through his foundation. Quality memory care in Detroit ran anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000 a month, sometimes more. And that was just the beginning of the expenses. He sat in his office at 2 in the morning, seemed appropriate, somehow staring at the information on his screen. The story was becoming clear. A brilliant kid, a sick parent, younger siblings, impossible choices. She'd given it all up. MIT, the scholarship, the future everyone expected her to have. She'd come home and become the person her family needed. Vincent understood sacrifice. He'd grown up poor, worked 3 jobs through community college before getting his break. But he'd been alone, responsible only for himself. Nia had carried the weight of an entire family on her shoulders. At 20 years old, his phone buzzed. A text from his assistant. Board meeting in 6 hours. Are you prepared? He wasn't. He'd spent the week thinking about a girl washing dishes. Instead of preparing for a meeting with people who controlled millions of dollars in investments, Vincent knew something his board didn't. The best investments weren't always in companies or technologies. Sometimes they were in people. In potential, it just needed a chance to flourish. He texted back, "I'm prepared." The next night, Friday, Vincent returned to the diner for the third time. He had a plan now, though he wasn't entirely sure it was a good one. Nia was there, as he knew she would be. Same spot, same sink, different textbook. This time, when Rosa brought his coffee, she shook her head. "You got it bad, don't you?" "Got what?" "That look. The one that says you're about to do something that's either really smart or really stupid, and you haven't figured out which yet." Vincent laughed. "Is it that obvious?" "Honey, I've been waiting tables for 30 years. I can read people. And you got that do-gooder energy coming off you in waves. Is that a bad thing? Depends on your intentions and how you go about it. That girl's been burned before. Had some guy come in here 6 months ago, all smooth talk and promises. Sighed he could help her, had connections, could get her back in school. Turned out all he wanted was to get in her pants." Vincent felt anger flash through him. "That's not. I know it's not," Rosa interrupted. "I can tell the difference. But she doesn't know you well enough to tell the difference. So whatever you're planning, you better think carefully about how you approach it." Around 2 a.m., the diner emptied out. Nia came out to refill the coffee station, and Vincent caught her eye. "Can we talk?" he asked. "Just for a minute." She glanced at Rosa, who gave a small nod, then back at Vincent. "My break's in 10 minutes. I'll wait." When she finally sat down across from him, coffee cup in hand, she looked exhausted. Not just tired from tonight, but worn down by life. "I meant what I said the other night," Vincent started. "About wanting to talk, Mr. Crawford." "Vincent, please." "Vincent," she corrected. "I appreciate the interest. I really do. But I'm fine. I have a job. I pay my bills. I'm doing okay. You're working 12-hour shifts washing dishes when you should be at MIT changing the world." Her jaw tightened. MIT wasn't going anywhere. Real life showed up. "Real life often does," Vincent said gently. "But it doesn't have to mean giving up everything. You don't know anything about my situation." "You're right. I don't, but I'd like to understand." Nia was quiet for a long time, staring into her coffee like it held answers. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "Why do you care?" "Because I see myself in you," Vincent said honestly. "Not the circumstances, but the hunger. The wanting more. The knowing you're capable of more. And because I have the ability to help, and it seems wrong not to at least try." She looked up at him then, and he saw the war in her eyes, hope fighting with fear, pride battling with desperation. "I need to get back to work," she said, standing up. "Nia, just give me some time to think, okay?" She walked away before he could respond, back to that kitchen, back to those dishes, back to the life she'd built from impossible circumstances. Vincent left the card on the table with a note written on a napkin. No pressure, no expectations, just possibilities. As he drove home in the early morning light, he wondered if she'd ever call. And he wondered if he'd done enough or too much, or struck the right balance somewhere in between. Only time would tell. 2 weeks went by. Vincent heard nothing from Nia, and he forced himself not to go back to the diner. He'd put the ball in her court, and pushing would only make things worse. But that didn't stop him from thinking about her, wondering if she was okay, hoping she'd reach out. Then, on a rainy Tuesday evening, his phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello?" Silence, then a shaky breath. "Mr. Crawford? This is Nia, from the diner." Vincent sat up straighter in his chair, waving off his assistant, who was trying to hand him papers to sign. "Nia, I'm glad you called. Another pause. "I don't know why I'm calling." This is probably stupid. It's not stupid, Vincent said gently. Talk to me. What's going on? Everything's fine. I kept your card. And tonight I was looking at it, and I thought maybe. I don't know what I thought. She sounded different. Smaller somehow. The confidence and pride from before had cracked, and underneath was just a tired young woman barely holding it together. Where are you right now? Vincent asked. Sitting in my car outside the hospital. My mom's facility, actually. I just finished visiting her before my shift. Do you have to go to work right now? I'm already late. Can you call in? Just this once? A bitter laugh. Mr. Crawford, people like me don't call in. We show up or we get fired, and there's 10 people waiting to take our spot. Vincent made a decision. What if I guaranteed you wouldn't lose your job? Would you meet me somewhere? Just to talk? Why would you do that? Because something tells me you need to talk to someone. And I'm offering to listen. More silence. Vincent waited, letting her think, not pushing. There's a park near the hospital, she finally said. Riverside Park. There's a pavilion with benches. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I'm not asking you for money, she said quickly. I need you to know that. I'm not calling because I want a handout. I know, Vincent said. 20 minutes. He grabbed his coat and left, ignoring his assistant's protests about the meetings he was abandoning. Some things mattered more than meetings. The park was quiet in the rain, just a few people walking dogs under umbrellas. Vincent found the pavilion easily. Nia was already there, sitting on a bench, staring out at the river. Her car was visible in the parking lot. Rosa hadn't been exaggerating. It was held together with duct tape, literally. The driver's side door was a different color than the rest. Hey, Vincent said softly, not wanting to startle her. She turned, and in the gray light, he could see she'd been crying. Her eyes were red, her face puffy. I look like a mess, she said, trying to smile. You look human, Vincent replied, sitting down but keeping a respectful distance. Which is better than looking perfect. They sat in silence for a moment, watching the rain create ripples on the river. My mom didn't recognize me today, Nia said suddenly. I sat with her for an hour, and she kept calling me by her sister's name. Her sister died 10 years ago. Vincent didn't say anything, just listened. She's only 48. Did you know that? 48 years old, and she can't remember her own daughter. Nia's voice cracked. The doctor said it's early onset Alzheimer's. Rare, aggressive. She was diagnosed 2 years ago, and by the time we caught it, it had already progressed so far. That's when you left MIT, Vincent said quietly. Nia nodded. Someone had to. My dad died when I was 12. Heart attack, just dropped dead one day at work. After that, it was just Mom and me and the twins. My brother and sister, they're 17 now. They were 15 when Mom got diagnosed. You became the parent. I became everything, Nia said. Parent, provider, decision maker. I had to put Mom in a facility because she needed 24-hour care. She was wandering off, forgetting to eat, almost set the house on fire twice. The good facilities, the ones that actually care about their patients, they cost $4,800 a month. The cheaper ones, she shook her head. I visited them. I couldn't do that to her. I couldn't. Vincent did the math quickly. $4,800 a month, plus rent, utilities, food for 3 people, insurance, a car that barely ran. So I work, Nia continued. The diner from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., 5 nights a week. Sometimes 6 if they need me. Then I sleep a few hours, wake up, and do a shift at a retail store from 2 to 8 p.m. On my days off from the diner, I tutor high school kids in math and science. $25 an hour. Every dollar goes to either the facility, rent, food, or saving for when the twins go to college. They're seniors now. They deserve a chance that I didn't get. Nia, I'm not finished, she said, and there was steel in her voice now. You want to know why I called? Because today, the facility told me they're raising their rates. $5,000 a month starting next month. And I did the math, sitting in my car, trying to figure out how to make it work. I'd have to pick up another job, which means no sleep. Or I move Mom to one of the cheaper places, where they warehouse people like they're not human. Or, she stopped, tears streaming down her face now. Or I give up, she whispered. Let the state take over. Let them put Mom wherever they put people nobody can afford to care for. Let my siblings figure out their own lives. And I go back to school like none of this ever happened. But you can't do that, Vincent said. No, Nia agreed, wiping her face roughly. I can't, because they're my family, and you don't abandon family. So instead, I called you. A stranger. A billionaire who showed up in a diner and decided I was some kind of project. And I hate myself for calling, because it means I'm weak. But I'm so tired, Mr. Crawford. I'm so incredibly tired. Vincent felt something break open in his chest. He'd built empires, solved impossible problems, turned code into billions. But sitting next to this young woman who'd sacrificed everything for love, he felt humbled. Can I tell you something? He asked. Nia nodded, not trusting her voice. When I was 26, I had to make a choice. I had a startup, tiny little thing, barely making any money. And my mom got sick. Cancer. She needed treatment, experimental stuff that insurance wouldn't cover. I had two options. Fold the company, use the money for her treatment, and get a regular job. Or keep going, bet everything on the company succeeding, and hope I could make enough to save her. What did you do? Nia asked. I kept the company. I told myself it was the smart choice, that if I succeeded, I could help her and hundreds of other people. The company took off 6 months later. But my mom died 3 months before that. Nia looked at him, really looked at him. I'm not saying this to make it about me, Vincent continued. I'm saying it because I understand impossible choices. And I made the selfish one. You made the selfless one. You put your family first, and there's no weakness in that. None. But I'm here begging for help from a stranger. You're not begging. You're asking. There's a difference. Vincent turned to face her fully. And I'm not a stranger anymore. I'm someone who sees what you're carrying and wants to help lift some of the weight. Not because you're weak, but because nobody should have to carry what you're carrying alone. I can't pay you back, Nia said. Whatever you're thinking, I can't afford it. I'm not asking you to. Vincent pulled out his phone. I'm going to say something, and I need you to really hear it. What if money wasn't an obstacle? What if your mom's care was covered? Your siblings had everything they needed, and you could make choices based on what you wanted instead of what you had to do. That's not reality. It could be. Vincent opened his banking app, the one his accountant hated because it gave him too much direct control. I'm going to set up a trust fund. It'll cover your mother's facility, whatever they charge. It'll cover your rent and basic expenses. It'll put money aside for your siblings' education. And it'll give you a salary to come work for my company's research division while you finish your degree. Nia stood up abruptly. No, absolutely not. Nia, you don't understand, she said, her voice rising. I've had men offer me things before. Money, opportunities, help. And it always comes with strings attached. They want something attention, gratitude, sometimes worse. I can't trust this. I can't trust you. Vincent stood too, keeping his distance. I understand why you think that. But this isn't about what I want from you. It's about what I can do with the resources I have. I didn't earn these billions alone. I got help when I needed it, breaks that other people didn't get, luck and timing and privilege. Now I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. What's the point of it if I can't use it to help someone who deserves help? But why me? Because you're brilliant. Because you're kind. Because you made sacrifices most people couldn't make. Because when I saw you in that diner, studying quantum mechanics between washing dishes, I saw someone who should be changing the world instead of surviving it. And because I can help you. It's really that simple. Nia wrapped her arms around herself, shaking. From cold or emotion, Vincent couldn't tell. What if you change your mind? She asked. What if 6 months from now, you decide this was a mistake? Then the trust is set up so you don't have to worry about that. Independent trustees, legal protections, everything documented. This isn't about me staying involved. It's about removing the barriers that are holding you back. The rain had stopped. In the distance, the sun was trying to break through the clouds. I need time to think, Nia finally said. Take all the time you need, Vincent replied. But Nia? Your mom's facility. What did you tell them about the rate increase? I said I'd figure something out. Vincent pulled out his checkbook. Yes, he still carried one, and wrote quickly. Give this to them. Cover this month and next while you think. He held out a check for $10,000. Nia stared at it like it might burn her. I can't. Yes, you can. Consider it a loan if it makes you feel better. Pay me back when you're a famous scientist making millions on solar panel patents. He pressed it into her hand. Let yourself accept help. Just this once. She looked at the check, then at him, tears streaming down her face again. Why are you doing this? Because someone should have done it for you 2 years ago. Because your story doesn't have to end with you washing dishes and giving up your dreams. Because I have the power to change this, and not using that power would be wrong. Nia clutched the check, her whole body shaking with sobs now. Vincent waited, giving her space to feel everything she'd probably been holding in for 2 years. When she finally looked up, there was something different in her eyes. Not quite hope yet, but maybe the beginning of it. I'll think about your offer, she said. Really think about it. That's all I ask. As Vincent drove away later, he watched Nia in his rearview mirror. She was still standing there in the pavilion, check in hand, looking out at the river like she was seeing it for the first time. Some gifts, Vincent knew, weren't measured in dollars. Sometimes the gift was simply showing someone they didn't have to carry the weight alone. Nia didn't cash the check right away. For 3 days, it sat on her kitchen counter like a test. Every time she walked past it, she felt a war inside herself, pride versus practicality, fear versus hope. Everything she'd built her survival on versus the possibility of something different. Her apartment was small, a 2-bedroom in a building that had seen better days. She shared 1 bedroom with her sister Destiny, while her brother Kyle took the other. The couch in the living room was hers, had been for 2 years. She didn't mind. Sleep was sleep wherever it happened. On the 3rd night, after her shift at the diner, she came home to find both her siblings still awake. They were supposed to be asleep. They had school in the morning. Instead, they were sitting at the tiny kitchen table, doing homework under the flickering fluorescent light. You two should be in bed, Nia said, dropping her keys on the counter. Couldn't sleep, Destiny said, not looking up from her calculus textbook. At 17, she looked so much like their mother used to look before the disease took those memories away. Same eyes, same stubborn jaw. Kyle glanced at the check still sitting on the counter. You gonna tell us about that? Nia had forgotten they could see it. It's nothing. Just work stuff. That's not a work check, Kyle said. He was the quieter twin, thoughtful where Destiny was bold. I saw the name. Vincent Crawford. That's the tech billionaire. Why is he writing you checks? Nia pulled out a chair and sat down heavily. She was too tired to lie, too tired to pretend everything was fine. I met him a few weeks ago. At the diner. He wants to help us. Destiny's head snapped up. Help us how? Pay for Mom's facility. Help with rent. Put you two through college. Let me go back to school. The silence that followed was heavy. The twins looked at each other. That weird telepathic thing they'd always had happening between them. What does he want in return? Destiny asked, and there was steel in her voice. Protective. She'd grown up too fast, just like Nia had. Nothing. That's what he says. Nobody gives away money for nothing, Kyle said. Especially not billionaires. I know. That's why I haven't cashed it yet. Destiny stood up, walked to the counter, picked up the check. $10,000. More money than their family usually saw in 3 months. But if you don't cash it, the facility raises the rates next month. You're already working yourself to death. How are you going to cover an extra $200? I'll figure it out. I always do. By sleeping less? Kyle's voice was quiet but intense. By working another job? Nia, you're going to kill yourself. And for what? So we can what? Feel good about not taking help. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. Destiny interrupted. Look, I get it. You've been taking care of us for 2 years. You gave up MIT, your whole future, everything you worked for. And we're grateful, we are. But maybe it's okay to let someone help. Maybe that's not weakness. Nia felt tears burning behind her eyes. You don't understand. I've spent 2 years making sure we didn't need anyone. Making sure we were self-sufficient. If I take his money, what does that make me? Human, Kyle said simply. It makes you human. Someone who did everything she could until she couldn't do it alone anymore. What if there are strings? What if 6 months from now, then we deal with it, Destiny said. Together. Like we always do. But Nia, you can't keep carrying all of this by yourself. It's not fair to you. And honestly, it's not fair to us either. We see what this is doing to you. Nia looked at her siblings, not kids anymore, but almost adults. When had that happened? When had they become wise enough to see through her? I'm scared, she admitted. I'm terrified of trusting someone and having it blow up in my face. So check him out, Kyle said, pulling out his laptop. Research him. Look at his history, his foundation, what other people say about him. Don't just take his word for it. Verify everything. It was such a Kyle solution. Logical, methodical, careful. And it made sense. Okay, Nia said. Okay, let me look into him more. Really dig deep. If everything checks out, if I can verify he's legitimate, maybe I'll consider it. She spent the next week doing exactly that. Between shifts, during breaks, whenever she had a spare moment, Nia researched Vincent Crawford. What she found surprised her. The man had been born in Detroit, grew up in a rough neighborhood not unlike the one they lived in now. Single mother, worked 3 jobs, died before she saw him succeed. He'd built his first company at 24, sold it for $50 million at 28, then built his current company into a multi-billion-dollar operation. But that wasn't what convinced her. It was what he did with the money. The Crawford Foundation had put over 3,000 kids through college, paid for medical treatments for families who couldn't afford them, built community centers in forgotten neighborhoods, funded research into diseases that big pharmaceutical companies ignored because they weren't profitable enough. And the people who'd been helped? They all told similar stories. No strings attached. No expectations. Just genuine help from someone who remembered where he came from. Nia read testimonials from scholarship recipients. families who'd been saved from financial ruin, researchers whose work had been funded when no one else would take the risk. The pattern was consistent. Vincent gave help and then stepped back, let people live their lives. She found his social media, sparse but real. Pictures of him at groundbreakings, scholarship ceremonies, meeting with students. In every photo, he looked the same, genuine, present, interested in the people around him rather than the cameras. On day 6 of her research, Nia called the number on his business card. Vincent Crawford's office, a woman answered. "Hi, this is Nia Thompson. Mr. Crawford asked me to call if I wanted to talk." "Oh, Ms. Thompson, yes. Mr. Crawford left specific instructions." "Hold on, let me connect you." 30 seconds later, Vincent's voice came through. "Nia, I'm glad you called. I did some research on you," she said bluntly. "Smart. What did you find?" "That maybe you're who you say you are. That maybe you really do just want to help. Maybe?" There was amusement in his voice. "I'm not ready to completely trust yet, but I'm willing to consider your offer. With conditions. Name them." Nia took a deep breath. "I want everything in writing. Legal contracts. I want the trust set up so that even if something happens to you, or you change your mind, my family is protected. I want clear boundaries about what you expect from me as an employee, hours, responsibilities, everything documented. And I want the right to walk away if it doesn't feel right, without penalty. Done? Anything else? I want to meet your lawyer. I want to have my own lawyer review everything. And I want to start slow. Not everything at once. Let me prove to myself that this is real. That's reasonable. How about this? We start with your mother's facility. I set up a trust that pays them directly. You have no access to it, but you can see the statements. It runs for 5 years minimum, no matter what happens between us professionally. After a month, if you feel comfortable, we add provisions for your siblings' education. Then we talk about the job and your schooling. One step at a time. It was more than fair. It was exactly what she needed. "Okay," Nia said. "Let's do it. Can you meet tomorrow? I'll have my attorney there, and you can bring anyone you want. We'll draw up the paperwork together. Tomorrow's my day off." "What time?" "Whatever works for you." The next afternoon, Nia walked into the sleek downtown office building where Crawford Tech was headquartered, feeling completely out of place in her best clothes, which weren't very best at all. The lobby was all glass and steel and expensive art. People in suits hurried past, talking into wireless earpieces, carrying tablets and confidence. She almost turned around, almost went home and pretended this wasn't happening. But then she thought about her mother, slowly disappearing into a disease that was stealing her piece by piece. About Destiny and Kyle, brilliant kids who deserved every opportunity. About herself, about MIT and solar panels and dreams she'd packed away in a box marked someday. She walked to the reception desk. "I have an appointment with Mr. Crawford. Ms. Thompson? Take the elevator to the 20th floor. Someone will meet you." The elevator ride up felt like ascending into another world. When the doors opened, Vincent was there, dressed casually in jeans and a button-down shirt, somehow making her feel less out of place. "You came," he said, smiling. "I almost didn't. But you did. That's what matters." He gestured down a hallway. "My attorney's waiting. Her name is Beverly Chun. She's worked with me for 10 years, handles all the foundation's legal work. She's good, and she's fair." Beverly turned out to be a small woman with sharp eyes and a warmer smile than Nia expected. "Ms. Thompson, good to meet you. Mr. Crawford filled me in. I think what you're asking for is very smart. Let's make sure you're protected." They spent 3 hours going through paperwork. Beverly explained every clause, every provision, making sure Nia understood exactly what she was signing. The trust for her mother's care was ironclad funded for 5 years minimum, with automatic renewals unless Nia herself requested otherwise. Vincent had no access to it, couldn't change the terms, couldn't use it as leverage. "This is real," Nia said at one point, staring at the documents. "Very real," Beverly confirmed. "And binding. You're protected here." When everything was signed, notarized, and documented, Vincent walked Nia back to the elevator. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now? You go home. You rest. The facility will receive their first payment tomorrow. In a few weeks, when you're ready, we talk about the next steps. But for tonight, just breathe. Let yourself believe that maybe things are going to be okay." Nia felt something loosen in her chest, a knot she hadn't even realized she'd been carrying. "I don't know how to thank you." "Don't thank me yet. Thank me when you're back in school, doing the work you were meant to do. Thank me when your research changes someone's life. That'll be thanks enough." She rode the elevator down, walked out into the afternoon sun, and for the first time in 2 years, Nia Thompson let herself imagine a future that wasn't just about survival. That night, she went to visit her mother. Patricia was having a good day. She didn't know who Nia was, called her sweetheart instead of her name, but she was calm and happy. "I have good news, Mom," Nia said, holding her mother's hand. "Things are going to get better. For all of us." Her mother smiled, that distant smile that didn't quite connect, but it was something. "That's nice, sweetheart. That's very nice." Nia sat with her until visiting hours ended, talking about everything and nothing, holding on to a hand that didn't quite hold back, but was warm and alive and still her mother. Somewhere deep inside, when she left, she didn't go to the diner. For the first time in 2 years, she called in, told them she needed a night off, expected them to refuse, and was shocked when Rosa just said, "About time. See you tomorrow." She went home, climbed onto her couch, and slept for 12 hours straight. When she woke up, there was a text from Vincent. "First payment confirmed. Your mother's facility is covered. Rest up. The future's waiting." Nia read it 3 times, then finally let herself cry, not from sadness or stress, but from relief. Pure, overwhelming relief. Maybe, just maybe, she was allowed to dream again. 6 months later, Nia stood in front of a whiteboard covered in equations, explaining her solar panel efficiency, calculations to a room full of engineers who'd been in the field longer than she'd been alive. Her hands shook slightly as she pointed to a key breakthrough in her design. "If we use this layering technique with the perovskite cells," she said, "we can increase absorption by 18% while cutting production costs by almost 40%. It's not perfect yet, but the preliminary tests are promising." The room was quiet. Too quiet. Nia's stomach dropped. She'd messed up. They hated it. She should have worked on it longer before presenting Dot. Then Vincent, sitting in the back row, started clapping. The rest of the team joined in. "That," said Dr. Hoffman, the head of research who'd initially been skeptical about hiring a college dropout, "is exactly the kind of innovative thinking we need. Nia, this is excellent work." After the meeting, Nia gathered her notes with trembling hands. It had been 6 months since that afternoon in Vincent's office. 6 months since she'd signed those papers and let herself accept help. The transition hadn't been easy. The first month, she'd barely slept, convinced something would go wrong, that the payments would stop, or there'd be hidden conditions, or it would all turn out to be some elaborate mistake. She'd kept working at the diner at first, unable to let go of that safety net. Vincent had been patient. He'd set her up with a part-time position at Crawford Tech, 20 hours a week, flexible schedule, working with the renewable energy research team. The pay was more than she'd made working 3 jobs, which felt impossible. "You're not taking charity. He'd reminded her when she'd had a breakdown in his office during week 2. You're earning this. Your ideas, your work that has value. Real value. She'd started taking online classes through Stanford's distance program. Just 2 courses at first, dipping her toes back into academia after 2 years away. The first time she logged into the learning platform, she'd cried. Physics and advanced mathematics felt like coming home to a place she'd forgotten existed. Destiny and Kyle had reacted to the news with a mix of disbelief and relief. The trust for their college education meant they could actually plan for the future, instead of just hoping for scholarships and loans. Kyle had been accepted to 3 universities. Destiny was considering MIT the same school Nia had left behind. You should go, Nia had told her. Don't let what happened to me stop you from chasing what you want. What if I'm not as smart as you? Destiny had asked. You're smarter. You're just scared. But fear's a terrible reason not to try. Their mother's condition hadn't improved. Alzheimer's didn't work that way. But the facility was good, the staff was kind, and Patricia was comfortable. On her good days, she didn't know who they were. On her bad days, she didn't know where she was. But she was safe, cared for, and that mattered. Nia visited twice a week, now instead of every day. The guilt of not being there constantly had taken time to work through. A therapist, another thing Vincent's benefits package had provided, had helped her understand that she couldn't pour from an empty cup. That taking care of herself wasn't abandoning her mother. After the presentation, Vincent caught up with her in the hallway. You killed it in there, he said. I was terrified. That's how you know you're doing something that matters. He handed her a folder. I have something to show you. Inside were projections, market analysis, cost breakdowns, potential impact assessments. Her solar panel design, if it could be manufactured at scale, could bring affordable clean energy to communities that had never had access before. Low-income housing, rural areas, developing countries. We want to move forward with this, Vincent said. Full development, with you leading the project. It means going full-time, which means you'd need to commit to finishing your degree. We'd work around your class schedule. Nia stared at the numbers. This could help millions of people. That's the idea. So what do you say? Ready to stop being an intern and become a real engineer? She thought about the girl washing dishes at 2 a.m., studying quantum mechanics in stolen moments. That girl would have given anything for this moment. Yes, Nia said. Absolutely yes. The next year flew by. Nia worked 40 hours a week, took full-time course loads, and somehow found time to sleep. It wasn't easy. There were nights she wanted to quit, mornings she woke up exhausted, moments she doubted she could do it all. But she had support now. Her team at Crawford Tech became friends. Her professors were understanding about her work schedule. Vincent checked in regularly, not as a boss, but as a mentor, someone who'd walked a similar path and understood the weight of it. The twins graduated high school. Kyle chose engineering at University of Michigan. Destiny, true to form, picked MIT. Watching her sister walk across that stage at graduation, Nia felt pride mixed with something bittersweet, the ghost of what could have been her own path. You okay? Destiny asked afterward, catching her sister's expression. I'm perfect, Nia said, and meant it. This is your story now. Go write it. 18 months after that first meeting in Vincent's office, Nia graduated with her bachelor's degree. The ceremony was small, but Vincent was there, sitting with Rosa from the diner and a few coworkers. Her mother couldn't come. She wasn't having good days anymore. But Destiny and Kyle sat in the front row, cheering louder than anyone when Nia's name was called. She immediately enrolled in a master's program. But it was the work at Crawford Tech that consumed her. Her solar panel project had moved from prototype to testing to small-scale production. They'd partnered with a nonprofit, to install the panels in a low-income housing complex in Detroit, the first real-world application of her design. The day they flipped the switch, Nia stood with residents who were seeing their electric bills cut by 70%. An elderly man shook her hand with tears in his eyes. "My grandbaby can keep his breathing machine running without me worrying about the bill," he said. "You did that. You made that possible." That night, Nia drove to the diner. She hadn't been back since she'd quit, felt guilty about it, wondered if Rosa was angry she'd left. But when she walked in, Rosa's face lit up. "Well, look who finally came back. Thought you forgot about us." "Never," Nia said. I wasn't sure I'd be welcome." "Girl, you crazy? We were proud of you." "Still are." Rosa poured her coffee without asking. "I see you on the news sometimes. Local woman revolutionizing solar energy. That's my Nia. I couldn't have done it without that first meeting." "If Vincent hadn't come in that night—" "He didn't make you smart," Rosa interrupted. "He didn't give you work ethic or determination or that brain of yours. He just removed some obstacles. The rest was all you." They talked for an hour, Nia catching Rosa up on everything. When she left, she put $500 in the tip jar money that once would have represented weeks of work. Now something she could give without breaking her budget, not 2 years after washing dishes in that kitchen. Nia presented her research at a renewable energy conference. Her design had been adopted by 3 major manufacturers. Installation projects were underway in 15 states and 12 countries. She'd been interviewed by technology magazines, invited to speak at universities, offered positions at companies, trying to poach her from Crawford Tech. She stayed. Loyalty meant something to her. Vincent found her after her conference presentation, looking at her phone with a strange expression. "Everything okay?" he asked. "MIT just offered me a full professorship," she said. "Teaching and research position. Full tenure track." "That's incredible. Are you going to take it?" Nia thought about it. The girl who'd left MIT would have jumped at the chance. But she wasn't that girl anymore. "No," she said. "I'm doing work here that matters. Work that's actually making a difference right now, not just in theory. Why would I leave that?" Vincent smiled. "Good answer. Though I would have supported whatever you chose." "I know. That's why I'm staying." At the conference reception that evening, a young woman approached Nia nervously. She couldn't have been more than 20, reminded Nia of herself not so long ago. "Ms. Thompson? I'm sorry to bother you. I'm a sophomore at Wayne State, studying engineering. I read about your story, about how you dropped out and came back, about how someone helped you when you needed it. I was wondering." She hesitated. "I'm in a similar situation. Family stuff, money problems. I'm thinking about dropping out. Did you ever regret your choice?" Nia looked at this young woman and saw herself, saw every person who'd ever had to choose between dreams and survival. "I regretted it every day," Nia said honestly. "And I'd do it again in a heartbeat, because family mattered more than anything. But here's what I learned: you don't have to do it alone. There are resources, people who want to help, programs that exist for situations exactly like yours. Have you looked into emergency student aid? Talked to your financial aid office? Reached out to any foundations?" I didn't know where to start. Nia pulled out her phone, sent herself a note. "Give me your email. I'm going to connect you with some people, some programs that might help. And if those don't work out, we'll figure out something else. You shouldn't have to choose between your education and your family. Not if there's another way." The young woman's eyes filled with tears. "Why would you help me?" "You don't even know me." "Because someone helped me when I needed it. And the only way to honor that gift is to pass it forward." Later that night, back in her apartment, a nicer place now, with actual bedrooms for everyone, Nia sat on her couch with her laptop. She'd been thinking about something for months, and tonight felt like the right time to start. She opened a document and began typing. The Thompson Foundation, providing emergency support for students facing family crises. She'd been saving money, being careful with her salary. She had enough to start small, to help maybe 5 or 10 students a year with emergency grants. It wasn't much, but it was something. Vincent had shown her that people with resources had a responsibility to help others. Now she had resources, not billions, but enough. Enough to make a difference for someone standing where she'd stood, looking at impossible choices. The foundation paperwork took months to file. Her lawyer, she had a lawyer now, which still felt surreal, helped her set it up properly. The first year, they provided emergency aid to 8 students. The second year, 23. Companies started donating, matching her contributions, expanding the reach. 3 years after washing dishes at 2 a.m., Nia stood at a podium accepting an award for innovation in renewable energy. She'd finished her master's degree, published 6 papers, and her solar panel design was being installed in communities across the world. The Thompson Foundation had helped over 100 students stay in school. In her acceptance speech, she talked about second chances, about the difference between charity and opportunity, about the responsibility that comes with success. "I'm not here because I'm special," she said. "I'm here because someone saw potential in me when I was washing dishes and too tired to see it in myself. Because someone understood that circumstances don't define capability. Because someone was willing to invest in possibility rather than just profit. We all have the power to be that person for someone else. To see the dishwasher studying physics, the janitor taking night classes, the single parent working 3 jobs while dreaming of more. They're not looking for handouts. They're looking for a hand up, for someone to remove just enough obstacles so their own hard work can carry them the rest of the way." After the ceremony, she met Vincent outside. "Proud of you," he said simply. "Thank you. For everything. For seeing me when I was invisible. You were never invisible, Nia. You were just waiting for your moment. I'm glad I could help it come sooner rather than later." They stood there in comfortable silence, watching the city lights. "You know what the best part is?" Nia said. "Knowing that somewhere out there's probably a kid working a night shift, studying in stolen moments, dreaming about something bigger. And maybe my work means their electricity is cheaper, their path a little easier. Maybe the foundation helps them stay in school. Maybe they read about my story and realize they don't have to give up. That's worth more than any award." Vincent smiled. "That's exactly right. That's how we change the world, one person, one opportunity, one act of faith at a time." Nia thought about the girl she'd been, exhausted and terrified, standing at that sink with a physics book and disappearing dreams. She thought about who she'd become, not because of money or opportunity alone, but because someone had believed in her enough to invest in her potential. And she thought about all the people out there still waiting for their moment, their chance, their Vincent Crawford. She'd spend the rest of her life making sure some of them got it. That was the real gift. Not what she'd received, but what she could give. Not just money or opportunities, but hope. The belief that your circumstances don't have to be your destiny. That hard work combined with the right support can take you anywhere. That the person washing dishes today might be changing the world. Tomorrow. All they need is someone to believe in them first. Nia had been that person receiving belief. Now she got to be the person giving it. And that, she thought, driving home through the city she'd never left, through the neighborhoods that had shaped her, past the diner where it all began, that was the best kind of full circle there was.